become homeless, while we are only able to provide shelter for about 207 of them. Every day, 20 more people are falling into homelessness. Keeping people housed and preventing them from falling into homelessness is the best action we can take to combat this crisis. That's why I led an effort to establish a robust eviction moratorium for the entire county. We have to ensure that the homeless crisis is not further exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. The temporary moratorium has been in effect since March 4th, 2020, and was just extended yesterday through the end of July by the Board of Supervisors. Extensions will be approved by the Board on a month-to-month basis. Without swift action from the Board of Supervisors, the homelessness crisis could have been exacerbated by job and wage losses being experienced by many of our communities of color. If you're unable to pay rent because of impacts of the pandemic, our eviction moratorium can help keep you housed. If you're a tenant, the screen behind me shows your rights are during the moratorium. No one should ever have to decide between paying rent or putting food on the table to help their family. That's why the county established an emergency rental assistance program to help tenants make their monthly rent payments. Yesterday, the Board of Supervisors approved using $30 million in federal CARES Act funding to extend the emergency rental assistance program. This new funding will be available for tenants countywide, prioritizing unincorporated areas and small cities. Please call 211 for more information about how you may be eligible for rental assistance. Today, we're offering information and resources for anyone who's experiencing housing insecurity. We have one of our nonprofit partners here with us to speak further on the eviction moratorium and tenant rights. I'd like to introduce Lambrini Waddell, Chief of Staff of Neighborhood Legal Services of Los Angeles County. Neighborhood Legal Services is a nonprofit organization that provides free legal assistance to help Angelitos combat poverty, obtain access to health care, and fight for justice. Each year, Neighborhood Legal Services provides free assistance to more than 100,000 individuals and families. Thank you, Lambrini, for joining us today.
Thank you so much for inviting us to be with you today. As Supervisor Solis shared, my name is Lambrini Waddell. I am the Chief of Staff for Neighborhood Legal Services, and I am pleased to be able to share some information about tenant protections and how you can reach out to us as an organization for free legal help. There are a few really important things for tenants to know during this time. The first is that there are emergency protections for tenants who cannot pay their rent due to COVID-19. So if you cannot pay your rent because of COVID, you should let your landlord know as soon as possible. Please put it in writing and make sure that you explain the reason and the circumstances. Keep a copy of that letter for your records. And you also want to gather and keep any documents that help you prove that you cannot pay the rent because of COVID. You can check with an attorney or the city government to see if your city requires that you provide that documentation to your landlord. Secondly, right now, new evictions have been paused, except when the eviction is needed to protect the public safety and security and health. So this means that many evictions cannot move forward through the court process. That means that many tenants cannot be evicted from their homes at this time. Evictions will start moving forward 90 days after the governor lifts the state of emergency or when the Judicial Council changes their order. Thirdly, landlords are still required to follow the legal process before evicting a tenant. This means that landlords cannot just change the locks, cut off your utilities, or threaten you to force you to move out unless a court has issued an order that you must leave your home. Be careful. Please speak with an attorney before signing something. You should not sign anything that you do not understand. Do not sign an agreement that you're not 100% sure that you can keep. And if you're unsure or unclear, don't sign. Talk to an attorney. Neighborhood Legal Services is here to help. We provide free legal assistance. You can reach us by calling our hotline, which is available Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. You'll just leave a detailed message and someone will call you back as soon as possible. You can also apply for help online at nlsla.org, and we will get back to you during office hours. Our self-help centers can provide information and help to both tenants and landlords. So you can call or email the center directly and someone will get back to you. Just remember that even though our doors may be closed because of COVID-19, NLSLA is still here to help. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lambrini. And at the end of the program, Neighborhood Legal Services will be available to answer any questions that you may have. Next, I'd like to address the issue of criminal justice reform and the county's efforts. I want to first acknowledge the pain and suffering the families and communities are feeling. George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, Tyrone Boone, and Andres Guardado. These are the names of only the most recent police killings. I say their names, the names of loved ones who have been taken away from their family in the most brutal way possible at the hands of law enforcement. I stand with the protesters who are exercising their right to collectively express their demands and express their pain and hurt. I am not supportive of the violent exchanges law enforcement is deploying at peaceful protesters, including the use of pepper spray, rubber bullets, and even troubling using of a sheriff helicopter shouting negativity to Angelenos. Amidst all the turmoil, I've heard the demands of the community that we need to rethink public safety in LA County. We need to rethink how public safety is conducted and by whom. And we also need to ensure that the accountability measures this board has instituted are supported more than ever. Yesterday, I read in 2 motions. One was to close Men's Central Jail, which the county has talked about, but we need to act to do it and appropriately use the cost savings to invest in the community and into alternatives to incarceration work. The other was to address the need for transparency in deputy-involved shootings and to ensure the timely release of evidence, especially video footage. This is also important to ensure the community's trust in law enforcement and its investigations do not continue to erode and to ensure families have access to the truth. The Board of Supervisors will vote on these 2 measures at the next board meeting on July the 7th. The sheriff is also expected to roll out his body-worn camera program, which will outfit all patrol deputies with the camera. The sheriff has not made these policies public. In addition, I'm skeptical of his pilot program to implement the body-worn cameras since 5 sites were identified and the East LA station was excluded. I urge him to do so for transparency's sake to include the East LA station. We have to be transparent for the sake of our public. If operated properly, we hope the body-worn cameras will be used as an accountability tool. These are all important discussions that need to take place, and the information shared will be vital, especially given that the Black and brown communities who are suffering the most at the hands of law enforcement need transparency. Today, I have invited Brian Williams, the Executive Director of the Civilian Oversight Commission, and also my appointee, Commissioner Hernan Vera, to tell us more about the work of the Commission and the work that they've been engaged with in terms of reaching out to our public. I'm proud of the work that they have done and will continue to support their efforts and actions. Please welcome Brian Williams.
Thank you, Supervisor Solis. And I really want to take a moment to thank Supervisor Solis and the entire Board of Supervisors for their leadership during the double pandemics we have in our community, of course, COVID, and also the uprisings that have been going on. I want to particularly thank you, Supervisor Solis, for the motions that you filed yesterday that you just mentioned. That takes us a giant leap forward in our efforts to reimagine what criminal justice looks like in our community and how we might want to reimagine criminal justice in our criminal justice system. That's incredibly important. The Sheriff Civilian Oversight Commission was born in the year 2016, several years ago, but it was born out of the struggle of multiple community members, multiple community groups who really wanted to have oversight of an organization that has been in existence since the 1850s, over 150 years with no oversight. Their image has always not been great in the community. There are some great deputies who are within that organization, but our job is to try and make it better. So when this Oversight Commission was developed, it was established with 9 members who are appointed by the Board of Supervisors, 1 from each supervisor and 4 of whom we call community appointees. And our main job is really threefold. Number 1, we want to increase the transparency of the Sheriff's Department. We want to shine an open light on what they're doing and how it affects various communities, especially those communities of colors who have been so impacted by actions of the Sheriff's Department. Secondly, we want to make the department more accountable for their actions, accountable for their deeds, accountable for their misdeeds. And thirdly, we want to serve as a vehicle for the community to let us know so that we can thereby let the Sheriff's Department know what you think about the Sheriff's Department. What are the issues that you're most concerned with? What are the complaints that you may have about the department? Also, what's the praise that you have about the department? Well, how do we go about doing this? We have a series of monthly meetings, our commission meetings, which of course were in person prior to the pandemic, but now these are virtual meetings, where we will discuss multiple issues. Those issues may range from the use of force to body-worn cameras to the use of unmanned aerial vehicles. And we'll develop a policy position on behalf of the community for those various topics, and we'll pass those on to the Sheriff's Department. We also have a series of town hall meetings which may occur after a significant incident. Certainly we've had shootings that have occurred, unfortunate shootings that have occurred in our community, and we will have a town hall meeting after that so that the community can be heard and the pains and the cries and the ideas and the notions and information can be exchanged between us, the department, and the community. You can also reach us, of course, on our website, www.coc.lacounty.gov. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. The bottom line is that this commission is, in fact, your commission. We want to hear what you have to say. We want to hear your complaints. We want to hear your praise. We want to hear your issues that you may have. And ultimately, we want to make the Sheriff's Department the best department, the shining light that it ought to be and that it can be, the shining light in our nation of what policing should look like in a community. That's your Civilian Oversight Commission. We're here for you. As I said before, the commission is comprised of 9 commissioners, and one of the most influential and best commissioners we think that we have is the commissioner who is appointed by Supervisor Solis. So with that, I'd like to introduce Hernan Vera, the District 1 appointee to the Sheriff Civilian Oversight Commission.
Good afternoon. My name is Hernan Vera, and it's been a privilege for me over these past 4 years to have been a part of the Civilian Oversight Commission. As Mr. Williams explained, the COC came into existence because of the commitment of both the community and the Board of Supervisors. We thank them for their vision and their resolve. And in particular, I'd like to thank Supervisor Solis for energetically supporting our work week after week, year after year. We wouldn't be here where we are today without her strong leadership. So I'd like to take a few moments to talk about the work, some of the work that we've done during these past 4 years, which is of critical importance to the community. First, we've closely monitored the agreements between the Department of Justice and the Sheriff's Department concerning issues like mental health, suicide prevention, use of force, detention conditions, and we've analyzed the Sheriff's Department's compliance or non-compliance sometimes with more than 104 substantive provisions of those agreements. We've investigated the Sheriff's Department's relationship with ICE, and we've made a series of 12 key recommendations on this issue, including the recommendation that the Sheriff's Department not honor ICE transfer requests. We've studied the issue of body-worn cameras, and earlier this year, we made recommendations on best practices regarding that implementation. Our work has been instrumental in the county's formulation of the Family Assistance Program, associated with family members who've lost their loved ones as a result of LASD actions. We've provided technical support and advocated for the greater use of mental evaluation teams, a joint project of the Department of Mental Health and the Sheriff's Department. We've worked hard to investigate the sheriff's deputy gangs, and we've looked into the incredible harm that they've done to our community. On the issue of COVID, we've investigated the Sheriff's Department regarding their implementation of safety measures in custodial settings. And we've used our newly authorized subpoena power to demand answers where the Sheriff's Department hasn't given them. And just a few weeks ago, in response to the nation's urgent call for immediate police reform, we adopted 18 use of force recommendations for the LA Sheriff's Department that we hope will be a good first step in preventing the still recurring and tragic loss of life that's resulted from deputy-involved killings here in Los Angeles County. In conclusion, the COC, the Civilian Oversight Commission, is a bridge to the community. We want to hear from you. We will continue to work hard to provide oversight and ensure accountability to the people of the County of Los Angeles. Thank you, and now I believe we are moving on to questions.
Before we begin taking questions, again, I want to thank our speakers. I want to thank Brian and Hernan. I want to thank them for their tremendous and important work on the Civilian Oversight Commission. And with that, I think we'll open it up to questions.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you wish to ask a question, please press 1, then 0 on your telephone keypad. You may withdraw your question at any time by repeating the 1-0 command. If you're using a speakerphone, please pick up the handset before pressing the numbers. Once again, if you have a question, you may press 1-0 at this time. Our first question will come from the line of Claudia Piscuda. Please go ahead.
Hi. There was supposed to be a news conference this morning with the DA and Chief Moore and Sheriff Villanueva that got canceled, and they were due to announce reforms in investigations of officer and deputy-involved shootings. So I'm wondering if maybe the members of the Oversight Commission know anything about what was due to be announced and, you know, the sudden cancellation of the news conference. Thank you.
I'm noticing that there were no bits of information given to either of our speakers about the cancellation, so at this time we can't really give an opinion on it. Thank you. We'll go to the next question.
One moment, please, while we gather their name. Next question will come from the line of George Marcias. Please go ahead.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
It's my turn, Jorge Macias.
Yes, go ahead, Jorge.
Okay, how are you doing? Good afternoon. Okay, I would like to ask you specifically about the case of Andres Guardado. The Sheriff Villanueva put a restriction hold for the release of the autopsy of the body of this man. It is legal to do that, to put that restriction, or do you think that he is hiding something that he doesn't want the public know about what exactly happened with this man if he was shot from the back 6 times or 7 times?
I will just quickly give you a response from the board. Yesterday we passed a motion, an urgency motion that Supervisor Ridley Thomas put forward to conduct an investigation and to call in the OIG as well as the Attorney General to help us with the investigation, to find out why this happened, how it occurred, and to protect any evidence that may have been obtained through video. That's as much as I know at this point, but I'll ask our Civilian Oversight Executive Director, Brian, if he'd like to add anything.
Thank you for the question, and I want to underscore the importance of having an independent investigation of this horrific shooting. That's important for us to do that, once again, in an effort to increase the transparency and accountability of the Sheriff's Department. Having an autopsy hold on an investigation is not an unusual thing. It happens because of issues that the Sheriff's Department might have in terms of the investigation itself. I don't know the motivations for doing it, but it's not an illegal act for them to do that, and it's certainly one of the policies that we're looking at as well at this point.
Okay, with that, we're going to transition into Spanish. And buenas tardes, yo soy la supervisora Hilda Solís del Junto de Supervisores aquí en el Condado de Los Ángeles. Gracias para acompañarnos hoy día. Cada día vemos más gente perdiendo sus apartamentos y hogares. Esto es una preocupación muy grande dentro de la comunidad. Por eso yo luché a enseñar un programa para ayudar a familias que no pueden quedarse en sus casas porque no tienen la renta. Esta ayuda empezó en marzo. Ayer fue extendida este programa hasta el fin de julio. El condado ofrecerá esta ayuda hasta que la gente ya lo necesita. Con esta ayuda, gente no puede perder sus casas si no pueden pagar la renta por culpa del virus. La pantalla atrás de mí enseña los derechos de los renteros. También el condado ofrece ayuda de emergencia para renteros. Ayer la Junta de Supervisores aprobó 30 millones de fondos federales para extender este programa. Vamos a dar prioridad a renteros quienes viven en áreas no incorporadas del condado y ciudades pequeñas. Para más información, por favor, llama a 211. Ahora les quiero presentar a Lambrini Vidal de Neighborhood Legal Services del Condado de Los Ángeles. Esta organización ofrece servicios legales gratis. Les ayuda a combatir la pobreza, obtener acceso a la atención médica y siempre están luchando para la justicia de la comunidad. Cada año ayudan más de 100,000 personas y familias aquí que viven en el condado. Gracias, Lambrini, por estar aquí con nosotros.
Buenas tardes y gracias por invitarme aquí para compartir información importante para inquilinos. Como dijo Supervisor Solis, mi nombre es Lambrini Waddell, soy jefa de personal de Neighborhood Legal Services of Los Angeles, o NBCLA. Hay muchas protecciones para inquilinos y hay algunas cosas importantes que deben saber los inquilinos. Primero, existen protecciones de emergencia para los inquilinos que no pueden pagar la renta debido a COVID. Si no puede pagar la renta debido a COVID, debe informarle al propietario lo antes posible. Recuerde, póngalo por escrito y asegúrese de que explique la razón. Guarde una copia de la carta para sus registros y también agarre y guarde copias de cualquier documento que pueda comprobar que no puede pagar su renta debido a COVID. Puede consultar con un abogado o con el gobierno de su ciudad para ver si su ciudad requiere que proporcione esa documentación al propietario. Segundo, en este momento se han pausado nuevos desalojos, excepto cuando el desalojo es necesario para proteger la salud y la seguridad pública. Esto significa que muchos desalojos no pueden avanzar en el proceso judicial y la mayoría de los inquilinos no pueden ser desalojados. Los desalojos comenzarán a avanzar 90 días después de que el gobierno levanta el estado de emergencia o cuando el Consejo Judicial cambie su orden. Los propietarios aún deben seguir el proceso legal antes de desalojar a un inquilino. Esto significa que los propietarios no pueden cambiar las cerraduras o cortar sus servicios públicos a menos que el tribunal haya emitido una orden que debe abandonar la propiedad. Finalmente, tenga cuidado y hable con un abogado antes de firmar algo. No firme nada que no entienda. No firme un acuerdo que no esté seguro de cumplir. Y si no está seguro, no firme. Habla con un abogado. Nosotros estamos aquí para ayudarle. Puede llamar a nuestra línea de ayuda a 1-800-433-6251 de lunes a viernes de 9 a.m. a 5 p.m. Deje un mensaje detallado y alguien le devolverá la llamada. Puede enviar una solicitud de ayuda por el internet en cualquier momento a nbcsla.org. Nosotros pondremos en contacto con usted durante el horario comercial. Y nuestros centros de autoayuda pueden proporcionar información y ayuda tanto a inquilinos como a propietarios. Puede llamar o enviar un correo electrónico al centro y alguien se comunicará con usted. Aunque nuestras puertas están cerradas por COVID-19, todavía estamos aquí para ayudarles.
Muchas gracias, Lambrini Guadal, para estar aquí hoy con nosotros. Y al final de este programa, todos tienen la oportunidad de hacer preguntas, si hay preguntas para las personas que están hablando hoy día. Ahora quiero hablar sobre la reforma de la justicia criminal y los esfuerzos del condado. Muchas comunidades están sufriendo. Yo apoyo a las personas que están protestando en las calles en contra de la injusticia y discriminación. Nosotros escuchamos sus voces de la gente. No estamos de acuerdo con la violencia que usan las autoridades. Ayer presenté 2 mociones en la Junta de Supervisores. Una moción es para cerrar la cárcel central de los hombres, para poder encontrar otros alternativos para seguir el principio importante, y eso es cuidado primero, cárcel por último. La otra es la necesidad de transparencia en los tiroteos de las autoridades. Es importante que la comunidad tenga confianza en las autoridades y investigaciones. La Junta de Supervisores votará en estas mociones el 7 de julio. El sheriff también